Good evening and welcome to another edition of Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily right here on Wrestle 2. As you can see, I'm being flanked by the sultry Santa. I just came up with that, Steph. Yeah, the alliteration could have gone on. I know. Sultry Steph, Santa, I don't know. There's all kinds of S's. Anyway, as you can see, Steph Chase is alongside me. Steph, in the festive spirit.
I am. I'm coming to you straight from the North Pole, Alex, where I'm helping my husband, Mr. Claus, make all the presents for all the good boys and girls.
You just rode in on the Huskies. I know. Well done. So thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us for this Wednesday edition of Wrestling Daily. As you know, everything's been moved forward a day this week. So when we would usually get Steph talking after the Wednesday Night Wars, we won't get that tomorrow because it's Christmas Eve. Therefore, this is the last show of the week. We will be back next week, and I believe it will be, is it third? No, today, next week, we will have the big show where all four of us will be on there, and there will be a lot of hot takes with end-of-year awards flying around. So, yeah, make sure you check out on that. Before we get going today, Steph, I saw you drop a news line from Ronda Rousey herself today. Tell the people where they can find your stuff.
They can find my stuff over, if you go to my Twitter, Stephanie M. Chase. I will link it all there. But yeah, up on Digital Spy, an exclusive from Ronda Rousey about what she liked least about being a WWE superstar.
Was it everything?
I think it probably was everything, but she singled out one thing in particular that she liked the least.
Good stuff, though. Good stuff for scoring that interview. I spoke to Ric Flair today.
Woo!
Woo! Ric Flair. Yeah, it was so good. Like I said this on Twitter when I was introducing him, because obviously I have to do the intro like it's for radio. Yeah. So I was like, and I'm here with the Nature Boy. I really put some extra sauce on it. And then he just interrupted me and he was like, woo, woo. And I was like, I'm trying to do the intro here. Yeah. I was like, come on, man. I'm trying to do this. So, yeah, I'm going to drop that hopefully in the next, it won't be the next few days because it's Christmas, but in the days after Christmas and Boxing Day, I will get Ric Flair out. And there is one interview next week that's tentatively agreed, but I don't know if it's going to happen yet. Like, it's one of them where I'm not going to say it because if it doesn't happen, I'll be gutted. But it is to do with the WWE Legends show, obviously going on for Raw. And I've never had this person before, and it would be elite bucket list if it happens. So I'll keep you posted.
Oh, very cool. Fingers crossed for you, Alex. Fingers crossed. And also look out on my Twitter. I have the Young Bucks going up tonight, an interview with them as well. So just before Dynamite, that should be up there.
Great timing. Look at you, Steph. You know content. You know it. Why don't we touch on a bit of news to kick things off here before we get into when Steph's on the show, we know it's all about the ultra chats, getting in your hot take videos. We've got a few of those lined up tonight. But if you want to have your say, and I know a few of you have already got them waiting in the chamber, you got to hit that below where it says WrestleTalk.com/Wrestle2. Tell us what you want to say. You want to say something to Steph? Say it tonight. And then we will get the fine moderators, even though Jen is furious with me for my potty mouth lately. We will get the fine moderators to let us know what you've said, and we will read it out on the show. Whatever you want to donate, we will do so. So, yes, please do get involved. And as right on cue, Mod Mother Jenna says, today's co-host is Stephanie Chase, and that is the link to her amazing content on YouTube. So make sure you stop by. Make sure you do that. Also, let's talk about the first bit of news. And as I said, it is in the title, and it is a lot of women in particular that I don't want to say complaining, but not necessarily happy with the way things have transpired for them this year in WWE. We've heard about how high they were on Mandy Rose coming out of the Sonya Deville storyline. She says that she was kind of promised a singles push that hasn't transpired. We heard about them being high on Peyton Royce. That was why the Iconics were split up. And yet, all she's doing is really lingering around a we don't like each other tag team with Lacey Evans. And on top of that, I believe Dana Brooke made some comments on a podcast in the past week where she also said she's very frustrated by the stop-start pushes in WWE. Now, I'm sure this isn't just limited to women in WWE. I mean, I can think of a ton. Aleister Black, Ricochet, a lot of people who have been in the similar boats. But what do you make of those frustrations, Steph? They've got every right to feel that way, have they not?
Yeah, to be honest, I think if I was anyone other than probably Roman Reigns in WWE, I'd be frustrated with the booking. So it's definitely not limited to women at all. But it's it's interesting the people you've mentioned, Mandy Rose, Peyton Royce, and Dana Brooke. I mean, Mandy Rose had the hottest thing going when she was with Otis. They got separated for no reason. It seems like they got their big moment at WrestleMania and then just seemed to be split up. And, obviously the thing with Sonya, other live stuff happened in there. But if I was Mandy, I would definitely be very frustrated. But then you look at Peyton Royce, and they took Peyton Royce from being in a genuine tag team, which is something that the women don't have, genuine actual tag teams, with her best friend, to put her in a tag team with someone that she doesn't like or know, which is just completely crazy. So if I was her, I'd be extra frustrated. And then Dana Brooke is someone that I feel like I've been championing for years, and I just feel like giving up on now, because if I was Dana Brooke, I just want out, because they've never, ever done anything with her. She had a brief time in NXT where they seemed to give her a little bit of a spotlight, moved up to the main roster too fast, and then they've never ever had a storyline for Dana Brooke except when she was with
Charlotte.
And I was thinking when she was with Titus and carried around a clipboard. Like, it's been a hard time for Dana Brooke, and everything you hear about her from people backstage is that she works so hard and she wants it so much, but they've never given her a chance. So yeah, I'd be very frustrated if I was any one of those three women.
I think it's tough. Like, and I'll start with Mandy Rose.
Mm-hmm.
I have to wonder if the whole Sonya Deville real life stuff, because obviously Mandy was there, very much happened to her as well. I have to wonder if that played into anything, like, because of the plans that they might have had mapped out. Remember, that match became like a loser leaves week off. So you have to wonder if maybe they were a part of each other's story moving forward, and then they had to kind of change stuff. But still, they should have used her momentum so much better than they did. And I said this earlier this week too. I felt like her and Dana Brooke was, their showing in the tag match to Open Raw, I thought was one of the high spots of the show this week. They looked really good. And the rest of the show is what it was. I was saying this, there's about 3 or 4 high points in a 3-hour show is clutching. But Mandy is, and I hate to pigeonhole like this, but everything that Vince McMahon apparently loves. And you can see that they obviously, I feel like what she's done this year in what she's been given has performed really, really well. So I hope there is more for her, because I do think she is more than just a pretty face. I think she's proven that this year. Who else were we talking about? Peyton Royce. I mean, my God, that I still can't actually get my head around why the Iconics aren't together. Like, if you had jettisoned her into, like, I don't know, the way that they made Carmella for Sasha Banks, right? If you made her a serious contender, or even like off the back of her eliminating Bayley at Survivor Series in a decent performance, then said, okay, let's use that and take it forward. They haven't at all. Like, there is no good reason why the Iconics are not together, in my opinion.
No, especially when you have women's titles, and as many, as great as Sasha and Bayley were, and as great as I'm sure Charlotte and Asuka could be, it's just the idea of having a legit, like, we're just a tag team in the women's division, the way you have in the men's division, would just really help, I think. And it's just bizarre to break them up. It's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, you could put Heavy Machinery in that too. Like, Tucker is doing nothing, and Otis is kind of getting a renewed thing with Chad Gable, which I'm interested to see how it plays out, because I like Chad Gable. But the whole Iconics thing kind of stinks like the Dudleys to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, when the Dudleys, do you remember in 2002 they split them up, and then by Survivor Series they're like, let's just put them back together. Like, I think that's what will happen, and I hope that they do have plans for Peyton, and that there was something to that in the original. But I'm not gonna I'm not going to hold breath about this. Scott Summers makes a good point here. Having the being high on backstage is like having the dreaded chairman give the manager a vote of confidence, with the football reference there. Yeah, I mean,
I feel like being high on backstage, as soon as you hear that about someone, something bad happens to them.
It really does.
I feel like something they send out to get people to say, and then they give something bad to them.
I had a report earlier this year where it was like, and obviously I'd heard it from loads of people, like including superstars, and they were like, Zelina Vega fought really high of backstage, and I was like, oh, well, you know, that seems a no-brainer. Then, like, I can't go far wrong with this. Like, even Paul Heyman on the record to me had said as much, so I was like, okay, cool. And they were like, yeah, Vince loves her. And then she was on a podcast with Lillian Garcia, and she was like, Vince McMahon sees a bit of Stephanie McMahon in me. I thought, right, great. Like, you know, and then, you know, about 2 weeks after that, she's gone. So I was like, you know, is that really indicative of the report? Like, did I jinx her? I don't know. And then, you know, there was another one as well with Keith Lee, clean win over Randy Orton. Vince told Orton to make him, all of this good stuff. And now look where we are. So it's difficult. Like you said, it's like it's poison.
If I was in WWE, I want to report out there saying like Vince hates her.
Yeah, he hates me. Who else did I not mention there? Dana Brooks. Sorry, just to circle back around. I'm the same as you. I like her. Whenever I watch her in the ring, I feel like she's different, like super athletic, really strong, well built. All she's ever really had on the main roster, as you said, like she was a sidekick to Charlotte for a while in the original run. But that was all about Charlotte. And then, like the thing with Titus that didn't really go anywhere, Titus Worldwide. This might sound really harsh, but outside of, if the four horsewomen are around, and Oscar and that, like, that's pretty stacked at the top. Right? Yeah. Like, it's very hard for women to break through to that, I think. And I'm not saying that as like a bad thing, because they are like immensely talented, like 5 of the best women in the world, full stop. So it's not like, you know, that it's a barricade for any other reason than their talent, but it is still something to overcome. A bit like, you know, back in the day when you had Rock, Austin and people like that on top, to get to the main event scene from there, the mid card was flooded with like your Jerichos, Benoit's, Guerreros and that, because Jesus Christ, look at the main event scene. And I feel like for the women sometimes, maybe it's a bit like that.
Yeah, I can see that. But I think it's hard for anyone, male or female, to break through to be a top person, because they just don't make people anymore. No. They just keep recycling the same people in the scene. I mean, no offense to him, but that's why we're still watching Randy Orton all these years later. You know, that's just what happens. And I think it's kind of with the women, because you don't have the long tenured women the way that the men do. They, you know, they have their horsewomen who are like the women that they've chosen, and it's hard for any other women to get in there either. But, you know, I think a lot of these problems could be solved if there was just better creative and better storytelling throughout the card for men and women. And then it could be more like the Attitude Era, where everyone, even people lower down the card, had a storyline, and then you give these people a chance to really shine and do something.
SP3 says, outside of the horsewomen and Oscar, the only one to truly break through in the past 3 years has been Alexa Bliss, which is true. She's had like 5 world title reigns. And of course, our Lord and Savior, Ronda Rousey. Wowzers. I can't argue with anything you just said, Steph. Shall we get to the first Ultra Chats before we hit up some videos?
Yes.
All right, let's see what the people are talking about tonight. So let's start with WWE then. And it's, oh dear, it's Mayor of Painesville, Dan, Steph's arch nemesis. He says, hi guys. Speaking of end of year awards, Dexter Lumis is nominated for NXT Breakout Star of the Week. I don't know if that's a typo. He is obviously going to win, but we just need to make sure to tweet that tweet, everyone, especially you, Steph.
Now I have to decide whether I want to be naughty or nice in my reply.
I mean, he just wants you on board. He just wants you on the train.
You know what? Dexter Lumis is my breakout star of NXT because I wish he would break out of NXT and just keep on walking out of the Performance Center, out of WWE, and out of my life. But the true breakout star of NXT is Mr. Pat McAfee, of course.
Has to be, right?
It has.
I mean, even I don't know if you were gonna do it a full-time one. Let's say, would you have a different one?
I might pick Damian Priest.
I probably would, or Raquel Gonzalez. I think she's been great too.
But there's loads of great picks that are not Dexter Lumis.
Essentially, anyone but.
Anyone?
Thank you, though, Mayor Parents with Dan. Matthew McCoskey is in the house as well. Hello, Matthew. Revolution. That's just how it starts. I've thought of a few matches I expect to happen. Kenny and Swan. Yeah, I assume so. Bucks versus GBS. Page versus Brody. Yeah, I guess so. Darby versus Cage. Also possible. Shida versus Baker. Leader of Inner Circle match. I'm sorry, the grammar here is really difficult for me, and I get it because of the characters, but I'm trying. Maybe Kingston versus Archer versus Pac. Jesus Christ, Pac would be doing some bumping in that match. Cody will be in there. Yeah, I assume so. But you guys add whatever else. I mean, I agree. I think Kenny and Swan off of the back of Hard to Kill is probably the way to go. Champion versus champion there. What do you think in terms of the direction of Revolution? Like, maybe that will be the only crossover match we get. But I guess storyline wise, in the direction where we're going, Matthew McCoskey isn't far off.
No, he doesn't seem far off in anything. I think that originally I thought the TNA Impact Championship match would be safe for Impact, but since they're doing the tag match, I think that Revolution will see Kenny and Rich Swann. I also think that if we're ever going to get Sting take part in some kind of tag match, it could happen there. I do think, though, and something I'm quite excited about is that Hangman Page and Brody Lee, that's going to happen because, as I keep saying, I just have this whole storyline in my head about Brody Lee coming back to save the Dark Order from fun and alcoholism and taking on Adam Page because of what he's done to the minions and turned them into like the most lovely, friendliest neighborhood cult that you've ever met. Have you seen this week's Being the Elite?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Dark Order go around singing Christmas carols.
That's the content I want.
It is so lovely. And it's so lovely. And then someone else has a great time on there as well that I'll maybe get to when we talk about other things. But yeah, I'm really hyped for Hangman and Brody whenever it happens. I don't think the Inner Circle leadership match will happen at Revolution. At least I really hope it doesn't, because I hope they drag out this Jericho and MJF storyline further. I think with Jericho and MJF teaming on Dynamite, we may see more of them kind of teaming in the future, maybe on the pay-per-view before we get to them splitting up.
Yeah, I don't think so yet. By the way, I bet John Silver had the voice of an angel.
Of course he did. John Silver can do anything.
Do you know what people are saying in the comments? That our triggers are obviously Goldberg for me and Dexter Lumis for you. And Elizabeth Stallion has said, make them both happy by suggesting Goldberg versus Lumis, where whoever wins leaves and whoever loses retires. Do you know what, Elizabeth? That's a great idea, except that I would have to watch it to see it transpire. That's the only problem with that.
I'd be happy. I'd be happy with Goldberg leaving and retiring as well. So I'd love that match. I would watch it. That would be the most invested I've been in a WWE match in quite a while.
Come on, Steph. Don't do us like that. On that note, did you not think TLC was a good show?
Okay. I thought I enjoyed Roman as always, but the Randy Orton Fiend on Fire thing. No, I thought that match was absolute garbage. And the only way it can be good is if the Fiend never, ever returns and he's on fire for good. No, that wasn't for me. I'm sorry.
It was garbage. That was good. Come on. Give that to me.
No, that was offensive.
No way.
Offensive.
No way. I thought I nailed that. Cadence. No, I will give it to you though. I loved it from the perspective of what he'd done for TalkSport. Like, it was like the biggest article of the day. But in terms of like story, I liked what Alexa did on Monday. You know the whole playground thing and Randy Orton. Like, I felt that was kind of cool. I don't know where they go from here and how to make it make sense. Do you know what I mean? I feel like
it's never going to make sense. It's never made sense at all.
Well, I mean, I get the fire element because he burnt Ray's house down, right? Like, I get that synergy. I do feel like they kind of just crowbarred it in. Like the week they did the thing on Raw, and then they were like, yeah, by the way, it's a Firefly Funhouse Inferno match now. And it was like, oh, is it? Like literally days before the pay-per-view. Like, okay. So obviously I'm assuming that wasn't the you know what I mean? The intended destination. And then they were like, well, while we're here, should we just burn him to death? I was like, and like I wrote an article today of like what WWE have done in 2020, basically, like the craziest things. So they've set Bray on fire. Yeah. Ray lost an eye briefly. Yeah. Ray was also thrown from a building with Aleister Black, lest we forget. Braun Strowman was drowned.
Yeah.
And then came back to life inexplicably the next. And then I got this wrong. Someone's corrected me. But when the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders were in that trash can,
yes,
apparently that was an alligator, not a tentacle monster.
What? Didn't Tozawa get eaten by a shark?
He did get eaten by a shark, and just to return as well. Like nothing happened. A lot.
I think something might be jumping the shark.
A lot has happened. That much I will say. Jeez Louise. Matty the Hot Scot is here as well, via Matthew McCoskey. Everyone is asking where Moxley has been. Theory, he really is working Wrestle Kingdom 15. He went to quarantine. Kenta has a match night 1 now. Kenta retains the title shot to be attacked by Moxley. Kenta versus Moxley night 2. Steph, I'll leave that open to you.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this one as well. I know that Tony Khan did say on a call that he just flat out no, Moxley was not working Wrestle Kingdom. But I feel there is still a chance that Moxley is working Wrestle Kingdom. And if Tony said that to throw us all off, then I appreciate that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I very much think he could appear to face Kenta. I think it's interesting that we haven't seen him on Dynamite. However, it works kind of both ways because it does make sense to keep your champion or your ex-champion off when something like this has just happened to him. He doesn't really fit in a storyline with Kenny going over to Impact. And I do think there's a chance he appears at Wrestle Kingdom. I was actually having a snoop on Renee's Instagram today, and she appears to be in Canada with her family. And then that made me think, I wonder, has she gone to Canada to be with her mom because her husband's gone to Japan? So yeah, I have a feeling we might get Moxley at Wrestle Kingdom, which will be fantastic, and it will end this whole saga of Kenta, the briefcase, and what we do with the US title.
It would be good. It'd be very good. Matty the Hot Scot says he sent that on behalf of Matthew McCoskey. Thank you for clearing that up, my friend. What else have we got going on here? I saw Uptown Avondale say the Revival were filmed shaving each other. Wow. Was Uzi hot in that this year? That feels like 10 years. That feels like
that does.
It was.
No, I said that feels like more than a year ago.
Yeah, it does.
But I'll take Dan's word for it that it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible either way. The whole Uzi Hot stuff was, oh my word. Never mind. Moving on from that, let's go to the hot takes ultra chat, and we've got a couple. Caleb Maldonado, that's a great name. Hello crew, how's the weather over there? Just wanted to say you guys do a fantastic job and hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Also pick your Wrestle Talk 5 series team. I thought we were getting out of having to do a list or a hot take there. Caleb, you snuck it in. First of all, the weather is wet where I am, wet and cold. I wish it was snowy like some of you are saying in the chat in America. It is not that here. We haven't had snow this year, in fact. Steph has escaped the dour southeast here, but I assume it's not much better in Ireland, Steph.
In Ireland, it's pretty chilly, but it's nice and Christmassy, but we haven't had snow yet either.
God damn it.
Yeah. Got to get some Christmas snow.
I think in my lifetime, I've honestly only had snow like maybe twice at Christmas.
Yeah, I can only remember it a handful of times. Yeah.
Sucks.
It's always nice, though. You wait for it every year.
Pick your Wrestle Talk Survivor Series team. I mean, it's easy for me, right? I'd pick my squad. I've got my Wrestling Daily guys. So I've got Steph, SP3, Louis, and I'd probably put chuck Pete in there. Pete's like our leader above, isn't he, Steph? Pete Quinnell. We'd have him as the fifth man. There you go. Easy. Done. Don't want to talk about these all authorities and rubbish. Keep that off. Keep that off my goddamn show. CM Chris says, good evening, Alex and Steph. Question for Steph. I've asked this question this week. What is Steph's 2 favorite belts of all time? And I'm looking forward to see what Dynamite will be like tonight. Hashtag Elite Good Eggs. Hashtag Happy Holidays. Happy Holidays to you as well, CM Chris. Steph, take it away.
Favorite belts as in the design?
Yes, how it looks. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be really obvious. A winged eagle and a white Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, the white strap. Do you know what? And I said this as one of my answers this week. Don't you think and we saw these up close, right, when we went to the BT Sport, the NXT UK titles are nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, they are nice. They are nice indeed. I think the NXT title is quite nice in itself as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm surprised you didn't say the IGW.
IGP. That's a nice belt as well. But I think I like classic WWF belts probably the best.
I do. Yeah. I said the Winged Eagle, I think, was one of my top 3 that I picked earlier this week. Let's before we get back to some ultra chats, we've got videos to work through. So let's start with Simon. What he's got to say.
My name's Simon. I'd like to share my unpopular wrestling opinion for the week. It's so cool to blame the problems for Raw with Vince McMahon, or the roster, or creative decisions, or the way it's written. My unpopular opinion is the fact that Raw isn't that bad. The pacing's great. It's the fans that are the problem. It's the toxic negativity and the tribalism. That's got to end. Let's just be cool. Let's enjoy wrestling. More positivity. Thanks.
I don't know about that, Simon. Because I feel like when there are good shows, like for me personally, I like watching SmackDown and I like watching Dynamite, and more often than not, I like watching NXT. I don't. It's not that I'm just going out of my way to not enjoy Raw that much. Do you know what I mean? I like good wrestling. Like Steph, I mean, there is a degree of that, right? Though, he is onto something in terms of the toxicity that exists in Twitter. I do think sometimes fans exaggerate how bad things are.
Yeah, there is toxicity in Twitter, and there's some people that definitely want to create drama and live their own gimmick. Definitely too many, people that watch wrestling that think they're wrestlers, like live in a gimmick or something. However, when it comes to be positive or whatever, at the end of the day, Raw is a product that we're consuming, and we are entitled to feel however way we want about it. And if it's not good, like like the ratings reflect that it's not been good recently, and people are allowed to voice that. And I think the problem is that, you know, we're all huge wrestling fans or we wouldn't be here. You know, like I'm a lifelong wrestling fan and I'm still going to watch WWE no matter what. But I'm also entitled to say when something isn't good at all. Like I would be entitled to say that if I was in a restaurant and was served a terrible meal and had paid for it, I might be like, guys, I love your restaurant. I'm a lifelong patron, but this dish you just served me, I'm not eating that. That's given me food poisoning. I mean, I'd be allowed to say that. And so I think that when it comes to there's a lot in wrestling to be positive about. And I think WWE this year, the fact that they've continued to produce shows and they've given us a lot of great stuff, a lot of great pay-per-views. Even the fact that they just gave us WrestleMania, as odd as it was at the time, was extraordinary. So we have all that to be positive about. And I'm positive about everything that they're doing with Roman. I love that. And positive the fact that Pat McAfee exists on NXT. But I will tell you when the Fiend sucks. So, you know, I think when it comes to like more positivity, I think that it would be better to say more tolerance on Twitter to everyone's opinions, and, you know, let's not fight about what's good and what's bad is what someone's opinion is. But we don't all have to like sit around and hold hands and say, you know, WWE, everything they do is amazing.
No, absolutely. First of all, I wouldn't ever want to bring you out a bad meal. Secondly, thank you, Simon, for your like equivalent of Triple H's Mark promo. I'm going to tell my friend Mark. No, I listen. Like I made this analogy to someone the other day. When I watch wrestling, like I'm rooting for the talent. Like I like them. You know, that I want them to be successful and have. You know, it's like I'm a Lakers fan or a Newcastle fan. When there's players on my team, I'm rooting for those players. They're on my team. That's the way I look at wrestlers on any roster that I support. Like I'm not actively hoping that they fail, or I'm like, oh, this guy sucks. Like I'm never going to be like that. You know, I'm always going to want to push them. You know, I'll support them and help them. And obviously, when you interview them and get to know them a little bit, Steph, you can attest to this as well. Sometimes as well, like you get to know them a little bit more, and you feel a bit more for them, and you hope that they do well. That doesn't mean though. And I consider myself one of the more positive wrestling fans. I really do. I won't cut anything down on Twitter unless it really is bad. 9 times out of 10, you'll see me being positive and promoting people and supporting them and praising. But that doesn't mean that Raw's good. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Like I said, I think SmackDown, AEW, NXT. I think Raw is last out of those 4 for me right now. And when you say the pacing's good, I don't think it is. I don't think the storylines are very compelling. There's some great matches. We had like a couple of great matches this week again. You're going to get that because the talent's great and they've got a lot of time to fill. But I just don't think that you have to be compelled to say something's good when it isn't. And that goes for anything in life, right? And, you know, don't drag it down just to, I get what you're saying in terms of some fans, because, you know, I'm not like shooting at the guy, but that JD from New York, for instance, has kind of made a following out of trying to cutting down what he thinks is bad about the show. And you get people that, you know, it becomes cool or whatever. You know, they enjoy kind of being that way. Whatever, that's fine. But I mean, objectively speaking, I want wrestling to be great. I want it to, you know, the wrestling that I loved or fell in love with, I want it to be like that. I just can't honestly say in my heart of hearts that I feel like Raw is a good product right now. And that's just not, I don't say that of any agenda other than what I'm watching.
I think you made a really good point there, though, about wanting more for the talent, because think of like what was just mentioned with FTR shaving each other's backs. You know, you can say at that time, you can say how much that segment totally sucked, and it's because you want more for that team, and you want more for that team, and it turns out those guys wanted more. They weren't happily doing this. They were probably thinking, God, I hope someone says that this sucks, because it really sucks. And there's just I think that's the other thing when you're watching Raw that can be so frustrating, when you look at someone like a Ricochet, for example, and the storylines are put in. When you look at Chad Gable, his whole time in WWE, or even what they're doing with a Matt Riddle now that you might not like, it's about wanting more for people and seeing more of the potential in them. So when you're having to go at Raw, or the writers, the creative, Vince, whoever, it's all about how much you love the talent. Because one thing, you can't say that WWE has an untalented roster. It's got a hugely talented roster. The roster is probably more talented now than it was when we were young. It's just the creative.
Yeah, I'd agree across the board. It's more talented. You could argue that the highest of the high.
Yeah, you could argue that. As far as such depth, and it's so many, people, especially with having NXT.
And the women, of course, are night and day. So I mean, I think we've covered that ground fairly well. But the bottom line is, especially Steph and I, whose kind of jobs are to talk to talent, but also review shows and stuff like that. We're not, I don't think people go out of their way to crap on things. If Simon likes Raw, by the way, more power to him. We're not telling you it's all subjective wrestling. That's kind of the beautiful thing of it. You don't have to agree with us, and as long as it's all respectful, I don't mind it. On Twitter, you get a lot of kind of, I sometimes I see superstars replying to some comments where I just think what is going on here? What is the person just gunning for the talent? And I think, God, this is weird. Just you want wrestling to be good, of course we do, but it doesn't mean we can't call it as we see it either. Let's go to Luke. Let's see what he's got for us.
Hi, Alex. It's Luke here to report for Wrestling Daily. My unpopular wrestling opinion is that the Undisputed Era will be called up to the main roster and will either be turning heel as a faction, or will be breaking up by the time they go to the main roster, leaving Adam Cole to go up to run for the world title or the Universal Championship, because they're at a point where I think they've run out of ideas to do on NXT. I look forward to hearing your guys' opinions on that. Merry Christmas to you both.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you, Luke. Steph, what do you think? Have they run out of ideas for the Undisputed Era?
I think that they've run out of ideas for this incarnation and structure of the Undisputed Era with Adam Cole on top. I feel like it's so long overdue, Adam Cole coming up to the main roster, that if he came up now, it would almost feel kind of weird, don't you think? Because it's you've been waiting for it for so long. And I think when it comes to the main roster, I absolutely worry about him because of his size. And I don't think that they're going to overlook that in the way that they have in NXT. But I think that right now, the Undisputed Era is definitely at a point where the focus can't be on Cole. Kyle needs more time to shine. Roddy as well. And it just does seem like in NXT that they know that it can't really continue anymore, and they're just trying to see what to do with the guys. I don't think that they're going to come up as a faction, though. Some of them will stay behind.
I just think there'll be money left on the table if they don't.
There will be money left on the table if they don't.
I feel like there's stuff for them to do on the main roster as a collective, and then you split them. But I also think NXT probably look at it like we can't afford to lose Undisputed Era right now, and that's why they're kind of just keeping them together until they can either fall into another storyline with some more new, fresh, interesting opponents. They're obviously trying Kyle in this main event slot, which I'm all for, because I think if he becomes the champion, it's an interesting dynamic to, maybe you have Cole challenge him, but they still remain as a group, and it's just a competitive thing, and then you get the teaser's attention. That there is things they can do. I think you're right though. They've already done the whole dominance thing where they've all had the belts. You've already had Roddy make the run at the mid card. You would just be retreading old ground unless you can find new opponents for them, which there aren't any new interesting opponents for them, in my opinion. Yeah, they had him in Pete and Pat, and and it's kind of like, okay, what do you do from there? So unless it goes up another level where you have Undisputed Era, or maybe Pat McAfee is more involved in terms of a real full-time storyline, and he actually goes for some gold, and that leads to the Undisputed Era doing stuff. I don't know. It's a very difficult one to call, but I do think they will have to go to the main roster at some stage. They will go as a collective because I feel like that's to be the way it starts. But I fear for the rest of them because Adam Cole will likely be the main player there. He will likely be the focus of them. And then the tag team, obviously, Bobby Fish, he keeps getting injured at the moment, which is a shame. But it could be even Roddy and Kyle. I fear they would make them a tag team first. Oh, hang on. Let's get rid of the banner until Steph returns. She was obviously having some difficulties with her. Look at that. Look, a peek into my living room. Don't look. Don't look. So yeah, I don't know what's going to be going on in terms of the Undisputed Era and the actual direction that they go in. But I do think they would have to come up as a 4. I just don't. I think if they broke up, and it would be wasted in NXT. There's fans who want to see them on the big stage. They want to see them do stuff together, and it would be the best way to introduce the 4 of them. So while we wait for Steph to return, hoping that she returns, let's go to another Ultra Chat. And this one is from Jared Thomas. It says, happy holidays to the both of you. I'm sure Steph appreciates. I'm a huge Lio Rush fan, and I absolutely loved his match with El Fantasmo. Do you know what's next for Rush, AEW, Impact, etc.? It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Jared, I would say, he wanted to go to New Japan. That was something that he wanted all along, and it makes sense that he's getting this kind of off his bucket list. Where does he go from there? It's a good question. I think he's an immense talent, Lio Rush. Obviously, he's kind of prone to, I don't want to call it controversy, but he's had some battles with different people upon leaving WWE. But as far as the talent goes, he'd be an amazing pickup for anyone. He'd be a great worker in AEW. He'd be a great pickup for Impact if they could utilize him properly. And I honestly think that, you forget how young Lio Rush is. I wouldn't rule it out that there's a way back to NXT or WWE for him. But I would Impact is probably the one that I'm leaning to the most on that one. They're hungry to pick up talent like that anyway. So as you guys are alluding to, is Alex embarrassed that he has walls? Talk of the chat is Alex's living room. My walls are extremely bare, but all of my kids' presents are that way in that little closet right there, tucked away, secrecy. Good job, none of them are old enough to check that out. My walls are super bare in this room though, for some obscure reason, and I've been outed. Anyway, so yeah, Lio Rush, I do think he's got great talent, and there will be a big future for him. And it does bring me back. Here she comes.
Hi, Alex. I'm so sorry, but the elves in the workshop came and they were wreaking havoc with my computer. Elves.
You made me expose my really boring living room, Steph. You left me hanging real bad. No, it's great. I'm glad that the elves have got themselves in line and you are back. We had one Ultra Chat while you were gone about Lio Rush's future. What promotion would you like to see him pop up in, Steph?
Oh, I think he'd fit well in Impact.
I said that. There you go.
Oh, nice.
There you go. Let's get to another video, and this is a returning hot taker. That's a pronoun. Greg Cherry.
Guys, Greg Cherry back with another hot take. Hope you like this one as much as you like the Shane one. When Becky Lynch returns, assuming it's post WrestleMania, I think her first major feud should be against the one, the only, Nia Jax. Let's face it, they still haven't had a one-on-one after Nia punched her in the face 2 years ago.
I'm not rushing to see that, but I mean, storyline-wise, Steph, I get what he's saying. It's there, it's written, it's easy. Yeah. Would the payoff be amazing? I mean, it could be. They could have a bit of a banger if it was a no holds barred or something brutal. I could see it. I don't know if I'm clamoring for it.
No, I'm not at all. I totally see how it makes sense, but no. I don't want to see Nia feud with anyone, to be honest. And Becky coming back is going to be so big that I envision her having some kind of big moment where Charlotte is standing like dominant as the queen, and Becky comes up behind her and it's like, in case you forgot about me, I'm back type thing. I think that's a better feud and even a more natural feud, despite what happened between Nia and Becky before, which was really just a mistake that they tried to capitalize off for a while with Nia, but it didn't work.
Yeah, I'm not. Nia Jax matches aren't my jam. I'm trying to think of the nicest way to put this. And it's not that I don't like her or want to see her do well, but I feel like she's had a lot of chances and she's super, super protected by WWE for whatever reason. And it's probably just her size in truth, but it's not something like, I remember when Steve Austin came back in 2002, and yes, I am kind of comparing the superstar status of Becky Lynch to Austin in this day and age. And they had him quickly feuding with like Ric Flair, the Big Show, in like handicap matches and stuff. Oh, Steph's gone again, isn't she? God damn it. And anyway, it was terribly, terribly misused and it just didn't work. So I don't know if you clamor for Becky and then you're like, yeah, and then it's going to be like Nia Jax for however long, a couple of months, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know if that's for me, to be honest, but I do appreciate your hot take, Greg. I wouldn't mind seeing it as like a payoff, though, like if they have a no holds barred or something like that. I'd be up for it. Matthew McCoskey is back with another Ultra Chat, and he says, well, look who is first again. I mean, was you? It's right down the bottom of the list, man. I'm sorry. It's Mr. Bang Brains himself. You've given yourself a name. I wanted to say Merry Christmas from your favorite Jew other than Louis. Mm-hmm. I'm asking about Revolution, but I want to save it, so I'll donate another chat to be continued. Okay, well, we've obviously done that in the wrong order. So I'm sorry about that. But we got your message. Nonetheless, my friend, do not worry. No, I don't want that either. God, all these overlays. So thank you, Matthew. Thank you. We got to your first chat eventually. We got Matty, the hot Scot again. He says, hey, Alex. Hey, Steph. Merry Christmas, Steph. That is some tree. I agree. Orton and Bray was weird. Trying not to swear. Okay, so now we're on the road. What are your predictions for the Rumble? Winners and championship challengers. That's a very good question, Matthew. I'd like to see what you guys say in the chat in regards to the Rumble winners and what you think is going to happen there. I feel like we're going to get Sheamus and Drew at the Rumble. I feel like we're going to get Bryan and Reigns at the Rumble. That would be my title challengers for the Universal and WWE titles. And I think both have got great stories already written in. It's easy, super easy to do. In terms of the Rumble winners, that's a tough one. So who I want is Big E. I feel like it'd be a great opportunity to make someone. Get Big E in there. Great. In terms of the women, I'd love to see Sonya Deville return and win it. I feel like she was doing amazing. And, the character work and what she was doing before that she had to leave for obvious reasons. I felt like she was doing amazing, and people would go crazy for Sonya Deville now. I want her or Bianca Belair to be my winners, because I would be very happy to see Belair go on and face, presumably, Sasha Banks. Otherwise, if you're not trying to make someone, or you're only making one person in one match, how about Bayley? Let Bayley get back to Sasha Banks. Let's go that way. I heard that there was the rumblings that Sasha might have dropped it to Carmella, and they did it the other way around, where Sasha wins the Rumble and then Bayley takes the belt off Carmella on the route to WrestleMania, and you make it that way. How about that way? How about having Bayley win the Rumble to cap off? Oh my God, her resume would be insane with that. She'd won pretty much everything except the Divas title. So I would love to see Bayley and Sasha Banks headline WrestleMania, unless somebody can put forth a more compelling match that's realistic at the moment. I'd like to see them two get the stage. If not, if you're going in a different direction, make Bianca Belair, make Sonya Deville. That's my argument for the women. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say about that. In terms of winning the Rumble for the men, it's tough, because it's like, who's going to face who? Roman looks like it's going to be Goldberg, and I swear to God, if Goldberg wins the Rumble, I will literally lose my stuff. That was very difficult to navigate that sentence without swearing. I don't need Goldberg to win a Rumble to get to Roman. I don't need it. But I am very confident that it will be Goldberg who faces Roman. And that leaves you to believe then the Royal Rumble winner will be someone who challenges Drew. Who's that going to be? It probably doesn't need to be Big E, unless you change him back over to Raw and then you've got him aligned again with a New Day. That could work, but it kind of negates the whole point of putting him on his own in the first place. So I struggle to believe that one. In terms of alternate options for Drew, Brock Lesnar is an easy option. I could easily see him coming out and winning the Rumble. Same way he won the Money in the Bank with very little effort. I could easily see... I don't think you need AJ Styles to win a Rumble to get back to him, or Edge. We've heard Edge. AJ wants to face Edge, and he wants to face Triple H. Steph is back again.
I really hope Santa brings me a new computer.
Yes. God damn, Santa. No, we were just talking about Rumble winners, and I was just finishing my point on the men, saying that AJ, as I've said to me this week, that he would want Triple H or Edge. You've got Edge and Orton. So there's a lot tied up there. If you want to make a new competitor for Drew, I have a sneaky feeling Lesnar might sneak in and win it, just to reignite that rivalry. Otherwise, it's hard. It's hard to see. I mean, Big E maybe, if you put him back over to Raw. But otherwise, I said for the women, Bayley to meet Sasha in the main event of WrestleMania is what I want. Otherwise, make Bianca, make Sonya. Steph, who would you like to win the Rumbles?
I'm very much agreeing with you on the women, Bayley, but I think Sonya would be such an amazing return. And then Bianca is also the one currently that I'd like to see get that elevation. The men, it's much harder to try and pick with the men. I would really like to see it go to Big E. I think that'd be really good. But other than that, I think AJ is a pretty safe bet.
I hope they don't do Sheamus, but they could. I would hope that they would make Keith Lee if it came to it. That would be a good option.
You're always hoping for them to use the Rumble to make someone,
right? And
so rarely, does it happen. But then you think back to how great Drew's Rumble was last year, and if they could repeat that story for someone else, it'd be great. I mean, if Lesnar comes back and wins the Rumble, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of unhappy fans come January.
It's worth mentioning, Steph, that in your absence, I read an ultra chat from Matty, and he did mention what a great Christmas tree you've got.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell my mom that. Sorry, I mean I'll tell Santa that. He'll be very happy to know how much you appreciate his work down here at the North Pole.
All right, we've got one more video coming in from the hot take, so let's get to it.
Here's my hot take. Kenny Omega, the most overrated wrestler in American wrestling right now. Dave Meltzer, everybody else gushes over this guy. He's horrible on the promo. He's not the best in the ring. Kenny Omega is overrated. Big time. Not the best guy in the world.
Oh, Wrestle Scope, as he has called himself. That is fresh out the oven, that take. I'm going to let Steph take the lead on this one. I will just say that I don't agree with that assertion.
I firstly have to say that although I completely disagree with his opinion, I loved his delivery. I loved it so much. I loved how he said it. I want to see him as a manager managing Kenny's next opponent. I think that'd be fantastic. I want to see him and Don Callis duel it out in the mic. So yeah, that was great video. However, totally wrong. I think that Kenny's a fantastic wrestler, and I think in the past the only things that have let Kenny down is some of the character work that can be a bit too out there for people, but now he's got Don Callis to reel him in on that. But I think, 2021, if you don't believe that Omega is the best bar machine, you will believe by this time next year, because Kenny's gearing up to prove that to the whole wrestling world, but especially the non-Japanese fans who maybe didn't follow everything that he did over in New Japan. He took 2020 as a year of kind of taking more of a backseat and working more on establishing himself and who he is, and a bit of like character work leading up to what has already been a great heel turn that might end up changing the wrestling landscape completely. Not to sound like Tony Khan, but he's going that way. But if Kenny's not the best right now, he's top 3 at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced this guy has watched Kenny Omega. Like that sounds like someone that has read someone else's opinions. Like maybe this guy doesn't like Dave Meltzer or whatever. I don't know. But we thank you for your video. And I will say, I don't, even though Kenny Omega, he still had a great year this year, and people don't even really give him credit for it. Obviously, he was part of the tag match at Revolution, but Pac earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's had good matches, like enough to convince you that he's not in actual fact trash or overrated. Like he is definitely. I just can't, okay, like maybe, you say he's not a great promo. I still think the promo work he's done since his character shift has been really, really good. And like the only person, in my opinion, who's more in tune or doing better work than him is Roman right now. And that's a really high standard to say that for. And that's also subjective. So I think that to me, it's Roman and Kenny are the most interesting people in wrestling right now. That is how I look at it. It's like a 2-horse race.
I look at it as Kenny at the top.
You would.
Then Jay White, remember wrestling them, everyone. And Roman is somewhere in that top mix once we get through the rest of the AEW roster.
You are so partisan. It's unbelievable.
But I do think that there's, I think that one thing that maybe Kenny was carrying was people who haven't actually properly watched him wrestle and just see him as that guy that breaks, Dave Meltzer's star rating scale, and they don't want to like that, rather than just objectively, giving him a chance to just show what he really can do.
In fairness, I believe this is but he is overrated. That's not to say he isn't good, but he's not all that. Jonathan Hedman. I mean,
but also, if you want to say someone's overrated, you know, who's rating them? Like whose opinion or that are you taking as the gospel on it? Is it Dave Meltzer's? Because you know it's all subjective. I don't think he's overrated. I think to some people he's the best wrestler in the world. To other people he's a great wrestler, and then to some people he totally sucks. And we don't worry about those people, so it's fine.
I think his body of work at this point is pretty much undeniable. I think you're going out of your way. You know, it's okay. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's okay to not like dig someone or really feel someone, you know, but I think objectively speaking, you have to kind of appreciate what people have accomplished and what they are doing. But again, it's okay if you don't like him. If you say he's overrated, that means like people are bigging him up as something that he isn't. And I feel like, again, his body of work backs up what he is. So I hate to do it to him, but
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
But once again, great delivery.
Yeah. To be fair, you're a great man on the stick, nonetheless, whether we agree with you or not. This has been a fine episode of the Wrestling Daily, even though Steph's been here for 75% of it. I think we're out of time, Steph. This is the last one before the home straight of 2020.
Wow. Man. It's been a mad year in wrestling. I wasn't even talking about the world. But you know what? Happy holidays to everyone. I hope everyone enjoys themselves over the next couple of days because everyone deserves to after this year. And I hope that I'll be telling Santa to come to all the Wrestling Daily good eggs.
That's right. And by the way, here's a hell of a plug. Uptown Avondale says, do you want to continue talking about Kenny and AEW? What's Stephanie's AEW Weekly tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow I am streaming at 9 p.m. UK time, Christmas Eve. And you know what? Santa doesn't come to people who don't watch AEW Weekly. So
I'm gonna have to get my kids out of bed to watch it and all sorts now.
You will.
So make sure you join Steph, guys. Of course, there'll be no Wrestling Daily for the rest of this week. We're back Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and of course, next Wednesday is the big show where we have not the actual big show, but we have all four hosts of the Wrestling Daily in the house at the same time, and we will be getting into some year-ending awards. So I will say, yes. I mean, come on now, that's a given. I will say at this point, not better than the Sammys though.
No, not quite.
Sami Zayn is king. I will say, I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for all of your support up until Christmas. You know, we're going nearly 3 months strong now. We really appreciate all of you guys, and we hope that you get all that you can in this terrible Christmas year. Once again, thank you for joining us. Steph, before you sign off, do you want to wish the good people Christmas and tell them where to find you again?
Merry Christmas, everyone. Find me over on Twitter at Stephanie M. Chase, YouTube channel, Stephanie Chase Wrestling. And as I've plugged already, join me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. to talk about AEW. And thank you all so much for the support you've shown Wrestling Daily so far. And you're always bringing us the festive cheer. And it's so great to hang out with you guys.
The good eggs make me happy. Steph, thank you so much as usual. You've been amazing. And we will see you next week. Merry Christmas.